Howdy, ma'am, and welcome to this here review of Quiet Town by J.T. Edson. And that's quite enough of that. Perhaps alongside Oliver Strange in the Southern series, J.T. Edson is author of the most famous of a glut of westerns written by English authors who had never been to the West, wild or otherwise, and instead based their efforts on the styles, cliches and tropes of Western movies. This book dates from 1962, the same year that James Stewart and John Wayne made The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, and 2 years before A Fistful of Dollars, so still very much the heyday of the Western. These books are famous in my family because my mother collected dozens of them during her holidays as a child, so I was never far away from them growing up, but I only remember reading one as a young man and not liking it very much. However, I found this one at a second-hand bookstore and jumped at the chance to have a second look at the series. This is the 12th book, but the 12th book of exactly what isn't made any clearer by this list of the millions of books that make up the various series. J.T. Edson's most famous creation, Dusty Fog, rides into the ironically dubbed Quiet Town, takes a dislike to a gambler's attitude, and agrees to become the town's new marshal. The first handful of chapters describe him righting various wrongs, and then the big mystery is introduced. Who is the big bad controlling the town's criminal activity? It's a mystery only to Dusty, being fairly obvious even in the first chapter, but that's only half the fun. Dusty throws cigarettes, hot lead and steely glances with unerring accuracy as he cleans up that there town with aplomb. It is a bit of a potboiler, offering little in the way of drama or development, and lacking a change of pace that would truly have elevated it as a novel, but Edson's enthusiasm for the genre is undeniable and infectious. The climactic gun battle is something of a damp squib, but the final barring brawl between an entirely female group is certainly a bit different. The first sentence of the book is a pretty effective hook and indicates something of Edson's style that is occasionally languid and occasionally sardonic. Quiet Town wasn't. Instead, Quiet Town is home to a crooked gold mine, a raucous saloon, a whiskey parlour and the Golden Gal dance hall. These treasures Edson describes as examples of civic pride, with tongue so firmly in cheek there's room for a Stetson alongside it. So far, so good, and we haven't even got off the first page yet. Edson paints the Old West in very much a spaghetti western style, but it's a vivid image of men working hard, playing hard, and dying by hard lead served at high velocity. Early on particularly, it's a lot of fun, with Edson acknowledging the already well-established trope of every gambler being a crook when two of the town's deputies are playing cards. One of them tells the other, "If you've got the same 3 kings again, I'm going to look on you with dire suspicion," and the dealer replies, "'Tain't worth me trying to put 'em back, I'll only have to get them out again next deal." With a town that's this much fun, it's almost a shame that Dusty arrives to clean up the place. And with his 2 deputies, Doc Leroy and the Ysabel Kid, they make up a trio of indestructible killjoys. On page 69, slightly under halfway through, Edson observes that Dusty solved every problem which came his way. He appeared to have foreseen and have a solution to every problem that came up. With the equally invincible and infallible Kid for company, it does begin to drain some of the life from the book, which is not helped in any great part by the lackluster characterization that they get. Character development is not really an option by book 12 of any series, but Edson introduces his characters with a degree of panache to go with his masters in cliché. It's a style of description, at least, that while not Adam Bede, is certainly creeping towards the realist spectrum. The taller of the pair was Indian dark, his face almost babyish. His black Stetson hat, low of crown and widely brimmed, was pushed back, and his hair was so dark it shone almost blue. His red hazel eyes were not young, and they held something which made a man think twice before he dismissed that black-dressed boy. From hat to boots the boy wore all black, even his gun belt was of black leather. Only the walnut hilt of the old dragoon gun holstered butt forward at his left hip, and the ivory hilt of the bowie knife at his right were not black. But the weakness to Edson's style is that the characters are always described in the same way. Dusty is the small Texan, or a slight variation of it, so many times that in a scant 158 pages it still manages to become a touch repetitive. And the Kid gets the same treatment, being the Indian-looking boy, or variations of it at almost the same rate. But Edson's enthusiasm and his limited runtime keeps things together pretty well. The lynch mob that the town's bad guys inflame is also quite nicely handled, and as cover for an entirely different crime, it's more thoughtful and developed than I had expected from Edson. Though in need of a little tidy up by a proofreader, it's sold quite nicely. The mob's passions are inflamed to danger peak by raw frontier whiskey, and word rolls from saloon to saloon like a prairie grass fire. The ensuing shootout is a little bit of a letdown, lasting barely even half a page, and for once Edson's panache is lacking. The prose is a touch laboured at the point where it should be sharper than the edge of the kid's bowie knife. 2 more men went down, one of Bronco Calhoun's sons and a fast-shooting Texan who put down a miner and wounded another before he fell. It's fairly typical of the scene, which serves up little excitement, and I couldn't help but be disappointed by the lack of any real daring or heroism from Fogg and Co. For a series inspired by classic westerns and the famous shootouts of Henry Fonda and John Wayne, it's a touch disappointing. Though it may have been deliberately underplayed, as the true finale, the ladies' fist fight, a piece of silliness really, is still to come, and certainly Edson does give that scene a lot more room and detail. However, this is not a very long book, and a little bit more here might have been nice. In conclusion, Edson writes better than I would have expected, revealing or at least feigning a passion for the genre undiminished this far into an innumerable series. His hero Dusty Fogg is the book's least interesting character, being both perfect and infallible in every way, and his villains offer no credible threat or even particularly nefarious villainy. But the book survives regardless. I expected this to be a bit of a joke, or at least a bad one, but with no little style and with tongue often pressed against cheek, Edson creates both an effectively vivid Wild West and an entertaining novella. It's easy to see why he attracted so devoted a fanbase, because Quiet Town is easy and entertaining to read, and I have no hesitation in recommending this or any of the other entries in the series to someone looking for a quick Western fix. So thank you for watching this review. Don't forget to click like and subscribe and perhaps leave a comment while you're here, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and goodbye.